Namaskar everyone. A very good morning to all of you. So we are starting with chapter number 7, frequency diagrams, histograms, polygon and ogive. This is something that we have not done earlier in the junior classes. Bar diagrams was something that we have done in the junior classes, so that was quite relatable. But the frequency diagrams that we are going to do today, histograms, polygon and ogive, is something new to us, and please pay attention while we are doing it. So we are starting with chapter number 7. This is frequency diagrams, histogram, polygon, and ogive. So this is what we are going to do. First of all, let us quickly see what is a histogram. We discussed the types of series earlier in chapter number 4. What type of series are there? So when we have a continuous series and when we make the graphical presentation of a frequency distribution of a continuous series, we use histogram. So basically a histogram is a graphical presentation of a frequency distribution of a continuous series. Now what is continuous series? The continuous series is the one in which we have got class intervals like this: 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and so on. And we have got frequencies against these class intervals. We have got frequencies against these class intervals. So whenever we are having continuous class intervals, we will be making a histogram. We will be making a histogram. Now, how do we make a histogram? This is something similar to bar diagrams, but not exactly same, For example, in bar diagrams, what were you doing? You were just simply drawing x-axis and y-axis, and then against individual values, you were marking their frequencies. For example, for 10, you will be marking, then for 20, you would be marking, then for 30, you would be marking. Like this, it was happening in what? Bar diagrams. But over here, we do not have the individual values like 10, 20, or 30. Over here, what we are having actually is we are having the class intervals. We will be having the class intervals. So what will we be doing? We'll be making a histogram. We'll be making a histogram. Now how the histogram is made, what are the steps to be followed while making a histogram, this is something that you guys must pay attention to. Fine. The frequencies are expressed in term frequencies will be making in the histograms are again the rectangles that will be making on the graph. Will be again making the histograms in the form of rectangular bars and on the graph. So basically histograms are of two types. The first one is when histogram of equal class intervals, when you have got equal class intervals like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, these are equal class intervals. Then you have histograms of unequal class intervals. Now what is unequal? For example, over here, look over here, 0 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 60. So this is what? This is class intervals, but the class intervals are not equal, they are unequal. Like in the first class interval, we have a difference of 10, then 20, then 30. So these are unequal class intervals. So we make histograms in two different categories. This is the example of unequal class intervals. So first we are starting with what? Histograms of equal class intervals. We are starting with histograms of equal class intervals. Now, histograms of equal class intervals are those which are based on the data with equal class intervals. A series with equal class intervals would make a histogram including rectangles of equal width. So this is something important, guys, over here. When the class intervals are equal, your width of the rectangles would be equal. Length of the rectangles would be varying upon the based upon the frequencies. If the frequencies are more, the length would be more, and if frequencies are less, length would be less. So this is something what is going to happen. Like for example, we have got this illustration with us. The table below shows number of students of a college corresponding to different range of marks in SATs. Present the information in the form of a histogram. Now see over here, you have got marks and you have got number of students. So marks are 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and so on. So this shows that it has got equal class interval. Then we have got number of students. Now the procedure how to make the histogram. How to make the histogram? I will be showing you how to make the histogram. Over here, you will be first drawing the x-axis and the y-axis like this. It's simple thing. I'm just telling you the procedure how to make the histogram. How to make the histogram. Then we'll be marking the values. For example, on over here we will be having the marks. Over here we'll be having the marks, and over here we'll be having the number of students. Fine. So this is what we are going to have. Number of students on the y-axis, and on x-axis we are having marks. Now, what was the question? Let's take the hypothetical example. For example, we can draw our own schedule over here. For example, we have got marks and we have got number of students, right? So in the marks we have got 0 to 10, then 10, in 0 to 10 we have got 5 students, in 10 to 20 we have got 7 students, then in 20 to 30 we have got 4 students, in 30 to 40 we have got 6 students, like so on. Fine. So we will be making a diagram for this. Now how to proceed? This is something that we need to understand. See, we'll be starting with 0. So this origin is 0, this origin is 0, this origin value is 0. Now what will happen? You will take the equal distance like we were doing in the bar graphs, 0 to 10. So 10 can be marked here, then 20, then 30, then 40. So this is some equal distance like that. Fine. So this is 10, this is 20, 30, 40, and 50. Fine. This is something that you would be doing. And now we have got values over here. So we can value 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, or either take it as 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Fine. So what we'll be doing, we'll be starting with, we will not be leaving any gap over here. From 0 to 10, we will not be leaving any gap. We will directly be starting over here. The first value 0 to 10 is 5. The first value what we are having is 5. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Over here, we'll be making a, fine. So this is the first one. Then 10 to 20, we have got 7. Then 10 to 20, we have got 7. So we'll be making a 7 1. This is going to be adjacent. This is going to be adjacent to what? This is going to be adjacent to the previous one. Now this is the difference. In bar diagrams, your bars were at equidistant, but in histogram they would be adjacent. Why? Because the first class interval is ending at 10 and the next class interval is immediately starting from 10. That is why your bars should be, your bars are adjacent to each other. That means they are sharing their boundaries. Now 20 to 30 we have got 4. Now 20 to 30 we have got 4. So we'll be making 4 over here like this. So this is 4, and then 30 to 40 we have got 6. We'll be making a 6 1. Fine. So this is how your rectangles, this is how your histogram is going to look like. Over here you are going to give the heading marks of the students, because we are representing what? We are representing marks of the students. So this is how your histogram is going to be made. Your histogram will be, all the histograms will be starting from the common base. They will be adjacent to each other. Their width is going to be equal in the equal class intervals, and the length is going to vary according to the number of students, that is based upon frequency. This is how the rectangles, this is how the histogram is made, guys. This is how the histogram is made. What we have done over here, we have made histogram with equal class intervals. We can just give the heading as well. This is what histogram with equal class intervals. So this is how it is going to be done. I hope everybody must have understood this. So this is how the histogram would be made, and now we'll be doing the question that we were having. So this is the question. Everybody please do this. We have got 2 minutes with you to complete this diagram, this histogram. Let's see the solution now. Let's see the solution now. The question was there, the marks and the number of students. This is how the diagram would look like. This is how the diagram would look like. You have got marks on the x-axis and the number of students on the y-axis, and then we will be having equal class intervals. The histogram of equal class interval. This is what we have done. We'll be proceeding towards the next topic, guys. I hope everybody must have understood this. We'll be proceeding towards the next topic, that is histogram with unequal class intervals. That is histogram with unequal class intervals. This is the next topic that we are starting. Histograms of unequal class intervals. Now over here in this question, we were having the class intervals 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and so on. Now we'll be having unequal class intervals. Now what is unequal class interval? Unequal class intervals are those in class intervals in which the gap is not symmetrical. Gap is not symmetrical. That means the gap keeps on varying. That means a histogram of unequal class interval is the one which is based on the data with unequal class intervals. So जब आपके when your class intervals are going to be different, the width of the rectangles would be different in this case. The width of the rectangles would be different in this case. So before presenting the data in the form of graphs, frequencies of unequal class intervals are adjusted. This is something quite important. This thing you need to follow before presenting the data in the form of graphs. Before presenting the data in the form of graphs, the frequencies of unequal class intervals are adjusted. So how do you adjust this? We have got few steps over here. We have got few steps over here that you guys need to write down. Step number 1 that we are having, find out the smallest class interval. Find out the smallest class interval. This is the first point that you have to do. This is the first point that you have to do. So whatever unequal class intervals you are having, you need to find out the smallest class interval first of all. Then now you need to find out adjustment factor. Find out the adjustment factor. This is the step 2. This is step 2. Now you need to find out adjustment factor. Now what is adjustment factor? Now what is adjustment factor? Adjustment factor equals to class interval of the concerned class divided by lowest class interval. Class interval of the concerned class divided by lowest class interval. Suppose your lowest class interval was 0 to 10. Suppose your lowest class interval was 0 to 10. Now what? Suppose your lowest class interval was 0 to 10, and now the concerned class interval is 10 to 30. So 10 to 30, that means that difference is of what? 20, and the lowest class interval was 0 to 10, so difference was of 10. So 20 divided by 10, that means your adjustment factor is coming out to be 2. Your adjustment factor is coming out to be 2. This is the second step that we are going to do. So we are going to find out the adjustment factor. We are going to find out the adjustment factor, and then we have got the third step with us. Step 3 that will be doing. Step 3 will be doing the frequency of the class interval will be divided by adjustment factor. This is the step 3. So what you are actually going to do, first of all, you are going to scan the whole series. You are going to find out the smallest class interval. Then all the classes are going to be, you need to find out the adjustment factor for all the class intervals. And what is the formula? Formula for finding out the adjustment factor. Formula for finding out the adjustment factor is this. Class interval of the concerned class divided by lowest class interval. This is how you are going to do it. and then you will be after finding out the adjustment factor, you will be finding out the adjusted frequency. So this is the step, what we have done. So we have what we have done over here, we have just adjusted the frequencies. So this can be written as adjustment of frequencies. This is adjustment of frequencies, everyone. Adjustment of frequencies that we are going to do, and the steps we have noted down, over here. Fine. So I hope you must have written down the steps for adjustment of frequencies. This is what we are going to do, and let's take it with the help of example. Let's understand it with the help of example. This is the question that we are having. Present the following data in the form of histogram. So we have got weekly wages 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, and so on. Number of workers. Now over here, you can see the class intervals are actually not equal. Here the gap is of 5, then again 5, 5, then again 5, 30 to 40, the here gap is 10. Here the gap is 10. Then here the gap is 20. Again the gap is 20. So what you will be doing, you will be first finding out, adjustment factor. You will be first finding out the adjustment factor. Right? You will be first finding out the adjustment factor, and how is it going to be done? The formula I told you for the adjustment factor is class interval of the concerned class divided by lowest class interval. Now the lowest class interval is 5. You can see over here 10 to 15, the lowest class interval is 5. So all the values will be divided by 5. Now what values you are going to divide? Actually, you are going to divide the gap. The 10 to 15, the adjustment factor is going out to be 5 divided by 5. That turns out to be 1. In the first case, that turns out to be 1. In the second case, it is going to be again 1. In the third case, it is going to be again 1, and so on. But in this case, what is it going to be? Adjustment factor here is going to be, actually the gap between 40 to 60 is 20, and the lowest class interval is 5. So 20 divided by 5, that turns out to be 4. This is what you are going to do. Fine. 20 divided by 4, 20 divided by 5, that turns out to be 4. So this is actually the adjustment factor. I hope you have understood how to calculate the adjustment factor. And then after calculating the adjustment factor, what are you going to do? After calculating the adjustment factor, what you are actually going to do? You are going to find out adjusted frequencies. Fine. So this is how you are going to do it. Now see, since adjustment factor was 1, so 7 divided by 1 over here, 7 divided by 1 equals to 1. Equals to 7. So the frequency would remain same. But in this case, if we talk about, actually the original frequency was 12, whereas the adjustment factor was 4. So now the new frequency would be 12 divided by 4. That turns out to be how much? 12 divided by 4, that turns out to be 3. So this is how you are going to find out the adjusted frequencies. Now the adjusted frequencies will be used to make the histogram. You will be using the adjusted frequencies for making the histogram and not these actual one. You will be using the adjusted frequencies, and after finding out the adjusted frequencies, you will be following the same step that we did earlier. You will be making the histogram 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. This is how you are going to mark values on the y-axis, on the x-axis, and on the y-axis you will be having the frequencies, and then you will be making the histogram. Now let's suppose you have got this. I am just making a rough diagram over here. Let's suppose over here the frequency is 40. and here it is 60, here it is 60. So for this you will be having the frequency as 3. Therefore, your rectangle width will be more, but your length would be less. Earlier, you were having 0 to 5 like this, 0 to 5 you were having. So over there, you were having bars like this. Now you can see this is how your histogram is going to look like, because because the class intervals in this question are unequal. The class interval in this question are unequal. So whatever class interval you are having, actually the point from there from the point from where the class is starting, your histogram would be starting from there and ending at the ending point, like 48 would be starting and ending at 60, but the frequency that you will be marking is going to be 3, and like that. I hope everybody has understood this. So kindly make the histogram of this particular question. You have got 5 minutes with you. Now see the solution, guys. In the question we were given this. In the question we were given these two columns, weekly wages and the number of workers. What we need to find out? What we need to find out is adjustment factor. This is how it is done. I told you, because the smallest class interval is 5, the smallest class size is 5, the smallest class size is 5, so that's why we have done this. And then the frequency distribution, you will be dividing the original frequency with the adjustment factor. 7 by 1 7, over here 15 by 1 15, then 12 by 2 6, 12 by 4 3, and 8 by 4 again 2. This is your adjusted frequencies. Now you will be making the diagram like this. Now see this here. You can zoom on your screen on your own. I'm just showing you this two things together. That's why I've zoomed out. Now see, in the first thing first, your first class interval is 10 to 15. Let's zoom. Your first class interval was 10 to 15. So this is 10 to 15, then 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30. Till here, your the width of the bars is equal. But then you had 30 to 40. So see, the width has been halved. The width has been doubled, whereas the length has been halved. Now see, what does this mean? This means then that since your length is since your width is double, 10 to 15 width is 5, 30 to 40 your width is double. So that is why you have halved the length. You have halved the length. So that's why instead of 12 you are marking only 6. Instead of 12 you are marking only 6. In this case 40 to 60, this is 4 times. So you have divided it by 4, and the values have been divided like this. So this is how your histogram is going to look like. Now what is the rationale behind this? What is the rationale behind this? I will ask you, what is the formula for the rectangle's area? What is the formula for finding out the area of rectangle? This you need to tell me. So this is how it needs to be done. This is how it needs to be done. So you will be adjusting the frequencies. You will be adjusting the frequency, and after adjusting the frequencies, you will be making a histogram like this, and it will look like this. So you can see the histogram which is having the highest width, the histogram which is having the highest width, like 60 to 80, that was having the width of 20. So the length has been divided by 4. The length has been divided by 4, and this is why the value comes out to be 2 only. Fine. So over here 20 to 25 has the highest length, whereas 60 to 80 has got minimum length but highest width. So with this we complete histogram of unequal class intervals. Tomorrow we'll be starting with polygon. Thank you so much, guys.